Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I'm your host, Alison Price, and I'm here with my co-host and good friend, Arwynne O'Neill.
Hi, Alison. It's great to be here.
So nice to have you again. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about the conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus.
Yes, this is a big one. This is
a big one.
Once every 14 years, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So this is a huge conjunction coming up,
Yeah.
and we're going to be looking into it, where it's happening, and what we can anticipate.
Yeah.
And what you need to know about Jupiter conjoined Uranus.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think first we need to just have a quick look at, what is Uranus, what is Jupiter,
Yes.
and probably what is a conjunction.
Yes. Well, a conjunction, start with the easy part, that's when two planets occupy the same exact spot in the sky, or the same exact spot of the ecliptic, as the case may be, because planets and orbits, etc., but they are occupying the exact same spot in the ecliptic, which means they are both, in this case, in Taurus. And when they are conjoined, they're going to be at
21
degrees Taurus. Yeah,
give or take a whisker.
exactly. So Uranus has been in Taurus since about 2018-ish.
Yes.
And Jupiter just recently went into Taurus because not just recently because it's 21 degrees, but it only spends a year actually in each sign.
Yes.
So,
and we actually do have episodes that I can link to about Uranus in Taurus and Jupiter in Taurus as well. I'll put those links in the show notes.
That's
for
a great
anyone.
idea, because those are both really interesting topics. Just what those two, huge planets, hugely important planets, mean in Taurus. But when they're conjoined, that's a whole other ballgame, and it's been a topic of a great deal of conversation among lots of important astrologers who I'm going to be quoting, as I always like to do in this episode. But first off, let's start with a couple of interesting dates.
Right.
So Uranus and Taurus, let's start with that.
Okay.
It's obviously, Uranus has an 84-year orbit. It spends about 12 years in each sign, give or take, because it retrogrades, etc. So it's been in Taurus since about 2018. Before that, it was in the 40s, so 1941, 42-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's, World War II.
Yes.
Big, interesting stuff happening. Yeah, a lot of impact to the home front, to health and well-being and your sense of security and all the things that go with a world war, obviously.
Yes.
And huge, interesting stuff that happened last time Uranus was in Taurus. And as far as Jupiter, I mean, that's, it's a lot more frequent, but let's talk about the last time that Jupiter and Uranus were conjunct. So this happens every 14 years. So last time was 2010. This was a very interesting time, as we, may recall, like to do with the upheaval that we had. It was the Arab Spring was around this time. We had Edward Snowden. We had the revelations that came up because of Chelsea Manning's data drop to WikiLeaks.
Okay.
And all of the war logs and the collateral murder video and all of that stuff, and protest in the streets with the Occupy Wall Street. All this stuff was happening around 2010, 2011. Mm-hmm. And this was the whole time that Jupiter was conjunct Uranus last time. So interesting stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. And what we'll find when we get more into what these planets mean when they come into conjunction is a lot of it has to do with protest, with upheaval, with humanitarian crises, and with just world kind of events, but from the ground up. Yeah, yes. like human uprisings.
Yes.
And people demanding
the underdog speaks up, I think, when Uranus is triggered.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, protests continue on, as we see every weekend here in the city.
Yeah.
They keep going, don't they?
Yeah. Oh my God, totally. Very much so. It's interesting. This will be my first digression of the night. Woohoo! Because we always like to say, but I digress. When the Occupy Wall Street protests were going on, this was a big, coincidentally, this was a big time for TED Talks. And one of my favorite TED Talks of all time was Franz de Waal. He is a biologist, and he had a video about an experiment where they had capuchin monkeys in cages, and they were testing whether they have a sense of fairness, which they do, because if you give capuchin monkeys a piece of cucumber and they do a little trick to earn the treat of the cucumber, they're absolutely fine with that. They love it. They'll do it for days. But if you give one a grape and one a cucumber, the one that got the cucumber will riot in the streets and bang his little fists on the cage and have a fit and throw the cucumber back at the tester. It's hilarious.
Because he wanted a grape.
Because he knows that the grape is better.
Oh, right.
He knows that his buddy, who just did the same trick, is getting a grape, and all he's getting is a lousy piece of cucumber. And he's like, hey, man, that's not fair.
Oh.
Yeah, like, what's up with that?
Equality,
exactly. And you can see him banging his little fist, like, no, the injustice. Anyone who is listening to this, please go watch the video. It is amazing. Just friends to all, cucumber monkey. It'll come up. TED Talk. You'll find it. It's adorable. And it also illustrates this astrological point that we're talking about.
Okay, yeah. So when is this actually going to be happening?
April 21st, 2024.
Okay, perfect.
And there's only one exact this
which
time
is
around.
Fantastic, yes.
Usually there are retrogrades, but this time it's one. However, as who I will quote frequently in this episode, Richard Tarnas, he uses very, very wide orbs for types of transits like this, big generational expansive transits, especially to do with the outer planets.
Define wide orb.
He uses up to 14 degrees,
14
which is
degrees.
Absurd. But
you.
So he says this transit has the effects that last for about a year and a half. And that's a little crazy, but it's a really interesting thing for someone like me who loves to look at historical patterns.
Yes.
His book, Cosmos and Psyche, is one of the absolute Bibles of research astrology and mundane astrology, and one of the most well-written astrology books, I think, that's ever been written. It's long and it's full of historical references.
It's a classic.
But if you are interested in this kind of thing, I mean, I haven't read it from cover to cover. I'm going to readily admit that, but I have read bits and pieces of it every time something major happens ever since I bought it in mid 2000s.
Amazing.
Yeah, and this is a big one. This is a really major one, and there are really neat patterns that recur, especially at the conjunction. The conjunction and opposition tend to be the most important. Sometimes
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, the square can be really important with certain ones, especially like, say, Saturn and Pluto. The square is very important. But with Jupiter, since Jupiter moves a bit faster, we're going to go with conjunctions and oppositions. And that's really when you see the fireworks. And
fireworks coming.
Fireworks is a good way to put it with these two planets.
Yeah. So what happens is Jupiter is catching up, and then being exactly at the same position as Uranus, and that will be on April the 21st.
Yeah.
And then it's, of course, that whole week it's fully closed in. But it will be within orb. So I would consider a 1 degree orb. 14 is generous, but whatever.
Yeah.
You do you.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at this energy coming to a head around that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. In Taurus.
Yeah. I mean, and with a human, when we interpret their chart, we use up to 8 to 10 degrees orbs.
Oh yeah, natal charts.
So for a transit, especially a generational kind of energy like this, that does make sense to me.
Right.
18 is a little much, but
this is it. Again, as I say, orbs is one of those things.
Yeah.
But either way, 21 degrees, call it 22 by the looks of it. If you have anything in your chart, if you've got your sun or your anything at all at 21 Taurus, this conjunction will be on it, stimulating you personally.
Yeah, or 21 Scorpio, arguably Aquarius or Leo.
Okay, yeah.
Just because it's the squares and the oppositions as well.
Absolutely.
So we can talk a bit about what this might mean for the average person, and then we'll talk about what this means for the world.
Okay.
Because let's sort of bring it into like the personal level, and then we'll talk about the cosmos and the rest of the world. So in your personal chart, if you are having anything to do with this conjunction, if this touches anything in your chart, there is a spirited sort of feeling. There's a readiness to discover and explore and innovate. This transit is exciting. It's original. It's dynamic. It's futuristic.
It's a great one, actually.
Yeah, and it's very much, it's expansive and it's lightning expanded. It's like lightning that goes all the way across the horizon because it's the lightning strike of Uranus, and then it's the expansion of Jupiter. So it's a great time to do something creative, renew some kind of creative project that's been dormant perhaps, or some kind of innovative thing that you have the spark of a thought in a dream, and you wake up and you need to write it down because otherwise it's gone immediately.
I like that.
And then maybe that starts something, and that's your new chapter. And then for the next, as Richard Tarnas would say, 18 months, but like, maybe,
definitely,
however long, just ride that momentum.
Exactly.
Because this is a huge influx of energy that does not come around very often. And it's a risk taking, but not necessarily foolish risks. It's risk taking for the good of humanity, or for the good of your soul, because there's spiritual energy, there's innovative energy, there's creative energy, and there's restlessness and the need to be heard and to stand up and be counted and to make your mark.
And all those things really don't generally go well with Taurus, which is a little staid, But if we consider, I think Taurus is the monetary system for one thing, and then the produce system of the world is for the second. Yeah. It's likely to bring change and innovation in those areas as well.
Interesting. So all those plant-based meats that everyone hates and no one's actually eating, I mean, maybe that's...
Exactly. And this business of, is there food for everyone sort of thing, you know? I was always surprised to see how many food banks there were in Vancouver, because it's a first world city. And yet there's this whole group of the population that requires help with basic produce and whatnot. So maybe some re-look at these sort of things as well.
Yeah, interesting. I think a lot of people, and I mean, Vancouver's kind of a not a great example because we live in glass towers, so many of us. But I heard that there was a resurgence of people having sort of victory gardens in a way during COVID, because you were sort of locked down, restaurants were closed for a bit, and...
Well, we have them in the city, right?
We have community gardens, wonderful, beautiful, and a lot of them are reclaimed spaces that were gas stations.
Gas stations, yes.
And so one of the things that is wonderful about planting specifically sunflowers, which is a really interesting thing, is that they are the best plant at cleaning toxins out of the soil.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Because I understand it, the problem with building over a gas station is they cannot build residential over it. Yeah. For what, is it 12 years or something?
I think it's longer than that.
Well, whatever it is. But the idea is that they had these underground tanks with petroleum or gasoline or whatever it's called. And this leaches into the soil. And this is what we're waiting to be withdrawn. Yeah. And this is why these victory gardens or these community gardens are springing up all around the city. Yeah. I don't know where the gas stations are going, but...
outside of the city limits.
Outside. Like the Romans, take them outside, yeah. So you've got that as well. So, but nature is kind of taking over and repurifying what we have, dare I say, messed up to start with.
Absolutely, poisoned and desecrated.
Yeah. So this is perhaps one example of a symbol of this sort of thing. I would
absolutely.
think.
And another great example is all these railroad tracks that they will rip up, parts of the railroad tracks and turn them into parks and gardens. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's this wonderful area called the Arbutus Greenway, which is one of the bike trails that they actually paved just a few, maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
I love to bike and to skate down that in the summer. It's an amazing trail. If you live in Vancouver, I'm sure that you're either familiar with it or can look it up and go enjoy it. And because it's so new, the pavement is very nice and smooth. It's wonderful for skating or rollerblading or biking, or, lots of people just walk their dogs or walk with strollers or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it goes all the way down almost to the airport. And by the time you get down there, you can actually see at the very end of it, you can see where there's a street that it marks the very end of it, like around 76th or something, like Avenue from, zero downtown. And right across from it is blackberry bushes and railroad, like decaying
railroad tracks.
Yeah, railroad tracks that are just sinking into the earth, and wonderful blackberry bushes, which are great in the summer and early fall. And airplanes, because
the airport's right there.
Right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, New York, they have the
the
Highline Park. which used to be a freeway.
Yeah, it's above the city, right?
Yeah. They just, just closed it to traffic and turned it into a beautiful
re-greened it. Or...
Yeah, I believe they're doing that. Or there are either plans to do that or to tear down some of the overpasses we have downtown in Vancouver, because they kind of overbuilt the highway system in the 60s, thinking it would become just this sort of awful concrete jungle of highways, and it never, thank goodness, materialized to be like a real commuter city. It's much more, really, no. More populated downtown, which is great. But yeah, there's plans to get rid of some of those clover leaves of highway
concrete,
over concrete
from the 70s. Yeah,
regreen them. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we just have a brief look at this chart for April the 21st. Mm-hmm. This is a chart that has been a bundle for a while because Pluto and Uranus have kept all the planets within this trine. But what's happening, as Jupiter is now conjoining Uranus, it is breaking free of that grouping in the one side. So that will be releasing this tight focus that we've had for a couple of months. Yeah. And also we've got the moon directly opposite to Mercury. But the moon is then the handle. So this is actually a fan chart where the moon is the handle of this fan.
And let's talk about what a fan is.
Yeah. So the fan is where you've got all the bulk of the planets within a trine, and then you've got one planet on the other side coming in.
Yeah, so it literally creates like an old-fashioned fan.
An old-fashioned hand fan. So so we would say that the moon here is the handle planet. Well, it will be for that a few days actually, as it maintains oppositions to certain of these planets.
And it's so interesting too, because what's at the outer part of the actual fan is Pluto and
Uranus.
Jupiter.
Yeah. So this is it. So Jupiter's crossing past Uranus, pulling through, and in the next month the Sun and all the other planets will come through too and just dissolve this whole congestion we've had in Aries, in Taurus, that we've had early in the year.
Yeah, but literally everything except for Pluto, which is of course in Aquarius, 2 degrees, everything is in Pisces, Aries, and Taurus.
Yes, this is quite a focused time of the year. Yeah. So let's just have a little bit of a focus there then on Jupiter, just a couple of keywords.
Yeah, we talked a bit about Uranus. So Jupiter, it's expansion, it's the godfather in the sky of the original Ptolemaic planets. Jupiter and Saturn, of course, were the outermost planets that you could see with the natural eye before they invented telescopes in the 1700s. And that was
Zeus, isn't it? Zeus.
Jupiter, Zeus. I think that's exactly.
The king of the gods.
King of the gods, the father of
the
god
of the gods.
Yeah.
The godfather.
The godfather. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So Jupiter in astrology means expansion. It's the largest, obviously, actual planet in our solar system by far, by a long shot, and it's beautiful and orange and colorful, and it has storms, and it's a gas giant.
Yes,
and
it's to do, I think, with broadcasting stuff.
Yep, with education, with philosophy.
Yes, broaden your mind. For Jupiter, I like the symbology of the hot air balloon. This great big colourful thing with lots going on, and you can't miss it. So
and they are stripy. They look a little like Jupiter.
They do.
Yeah, totally. And it rules Sagittarius and Pisces.
Yes.
Which are 2 very interestingly not similar seeming signs.
Yes.
But they do have that exuberance and larger than life quality.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the big picture. The big picture comes with Jupiter. So we may see themes of rather than a focused approach to sorting things out, there's going to be I want to say a global rehash of how we're handling particularly food and monetary, because it is Taurus.
Yeah, definitely. So Jupiter in Earth signs, specifically, and this is, I'm going to just paraphrase a bit from the old standby, Stephen Arroyo, is Exploring Jupiter, which is a wonderful book.
Okay.
Exploring the astrological key to progress, prosperity, and potential. Yeah, so Jupiter in Taurus, interpretation guidelines. It seeks to grow and improve itself through productivity, steadiness, and reliability. The urge to connect the self with a larger whole is fulfilled through a deep appreciation of the physical world and has a highly developed sensuality. So this is especially if it's in someone's chart. Attempting to improve life solely through money, possessions, and luxury can lead to an overly materialistic attitude and wastefulness, and a broad and tolerant understanding of human nature and the basic needs for pleasure. and also a trust that life is enhanced by communication with nature and a simple existence, expressing the more noble and generous qualities of Taurus. So it's sort of an expansion of Taurus and an elevation of all those Taurian principles of sensuality and physicality and comfort.
Yes.
But expanded to a Jupiterian sort of level.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah. When Jupiter is conjunct Uranus, especially if this is in the birth chart, so this happens every 14 years, and a lot of people listening may have this aspect in their chart. So this emphasizes originality and creativity. There's often a marked interest in politics or social change, and it definitely depends on what sign it's in, obviously, but this also depends on how much it's integrated into your chart. So if you have these two planets and they're in, depending on what house, if they're in the first house, my God, you might be like a sort of pioneering humanitarian of some kind, or open your own food bank, or, God only knows what. They also are interested in scientific inventiveness, personal freedom, healthy urges that have to do with the physical. So maybe with food, maybe with fitness or with health in some way. And there is an immediate understanding of revelations to do with logic and with scientific explorations or breakthroughs or, just very innovative thinkers.
That's right. It's a very nice conjunction, I think.
Yeah.
And if you've got it in your natal chart, that's even better. Not that I do, and you don't either, right?
No.
So this is a thing. It comes around this conjunction comes around every 13 to 14 years, and it will happen typically in the next following sign. It just depends. Jupiter will be catching up with Uranus, and here we have it now in Taurus.
Yeah.
Okay, so for everybody who's clearly got a chart, which is everyone who's listening, this conjunction will occur in one of your houses in the chart. And so for Arwynne, for example, so which house is it going to occur for you?
Seventh house.
Seventh house. So that's interesting, right?
Yeah, that's a good house.
So this is your house of partnerships for sure, and business partnerships, such as you and I. And of course, Uranus is, of course, symbolic of astrology anyway. What, is there going to be some kind of growth, or who knows what?
Growth and expansion? Yeah, yes.
Who knows what's going to happen next?
Exactly, yeah.
There may be more and more, I don't know, episodes or promotion and work or something or other.
Yeah.
And then if we look in your personal relationships, there's probably going to be some growth and some rekindled and fun stuff coming through.
Yeah, in innovative and sensual Taurian kind of way. I don't know.
Yeah, so instead of the whole drum, boring, suddenly go, oh, a spark at last or something,
Yes. Yeah, I have that to look forward to. Amazing.
You do. What an anticipation.
Which day of the week is April 21st?
Yeah.
And where is it in your chart?
It's occurring in my 11th house.
Ooh, nice.
So, it's Uranus has just gone into my 11th house, so it's really moving into groups and I'm calling it audience at this stage, where that's the astrological audience is actually growing.
It is.
Greater than the client base at the moment, and we're having a far wider reach, which is great.
It is great.
We spoke about this a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
How it is growth is, what's the word? Is they call it? Is it exponential? Difficult word.
It's exponential, and
where you creep along and nothing happens, and then slowly it doubles, and it's Fibonacci as it goes.
Yeah.
So perhaps in the past where we had 10 listeners, we've now got 15, and it's going up faster than.
It's quite a bit.
It's not a straight line
now. Yeah.
So that's a great thing, that the reach of the audience. I would like to put, but the astrology audience particularly.
The podcast audience.
The podcast audience in particular is where we are expending. Well, it's where I'm expending my energy with all the. Even though we do the episodes and that, there's all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, the endless tech work that goes into getting this thing out there.
Yeah.
So those of you who work in this kind of field know exactly what I'm talking about, as you do.
Yeah.
And there's all the other bits going on and bells and whistles that happens. But I'm looking on it as a positive time for growth and expansion during this period, which for me will probably be for the year whilst Jupiter is in my 11th house, but it's happening virtually as they both move into my 11th house. So that's where I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That's awesome.
All right.
So another few interesting things that happened in previous times when Jupiter was conjunct Uranus, and this is from Cosmos and Psyche, the Richard Tarnas book we referenced earlier. He says that anytime that Jupiter and a second planet enter into cyclical alignment, especially the conjunctions, Jupiter's influence is one of magnifying and supporting the secondary planet into an expansive, elevated quality. It crowns it, as it were, in a sort of a royal sense, and grants it success and honors it and brings it to fruition. So anything that has been happening on the Uranian front for the last few years while Uranus has been in Taurus, this is kind of the culmination and fulfillment of those energies. And these energies are often vivid and associated with archetypal expansion and radical change, creative breakthroughs, and rebellion against constraints and the status quo. And the conjunction of these two planets, of course, occurs every 14 years, as I said. So a few of the interesting things that have happened in previous conjunctions include the publication of Darwin's evolutionary theories, the
Origin of Species. I have that book.
Exactly. There you go. Freud's interpretation of dreams. Max Planck introduced his groundbreaking hypotheses of radiant energy. Wow. And Kepler published his first work, Astronomia Nova. And Galileo also made his first public demonstrations of the telescope. These are all like around the 1609, 1610 era.
Yeah,
exactly. Freud was in 1900, and then Max Planck, same thing, 1900. Later on, the theory of evolution, this is in 1858. So we're jumping around a bit in time, but these are 14-year cycles. So really interesting breakthroughs and clearly revolutionary thoughts, which are still with us hundreds of years later. Kepler and Galileo, Darwin and Wallace, Freud and Planck, and Niels Bohr, Heisenberg, Whitehead, and Lemaitre in 1927. So all of these were during conjunctions of Uranus and Jupiter, which is insane.
This is great. So what's actually happening here is that they've been beavering away, working on their stuff, working on their numbers, blah, blah, blah. And then they go public when Jupiter comes along.
Yes.
And something else I wanted to say was that because this is Jupiter conjoining Uranus, it's the beginning of a new synodic cycle, which begins at the conjunction, which would last for 14 years from now on, and which then supersedes the previous Uranus Jupiter conjunctions.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you if you've got a baby born on this day, this cycle is built into their natal chart. Anytime you've got a conjunction, you've got this cycle, that particular cycle built in, and you can see it unfolding as well.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, isn't it? They've come up with all this stuff, and it's like, people like Galileo and that, they didn't just say, oh, heck, let me tell them about this. Today, they wouldn't wake up with it. They've been working on that.
Yeah, exactly.
In the background, and in their basements, in the back room, in their coffee shops as we would today. And then they're going public and broadcasting for everybody's benefit.
And what I find so interesting about those comparisons where he's pairing the two scientists who are studying the same thing is that so much of the time we see like something that's been bubbling along and then 2 or 3 scientists at the same time come up with this idea, and it's this race to publish because they've been sort of ferreting away.
Darwin,
exactly. And all of a sudden it breaks into the public consciousness because its time has come.
Yes.
Through the actions and research and toiling away of these wonderful scientists.
And looking back, we think it was brilliant, but at the time, people were going, oh, what are you saying?
What? You're saying we're descended from monkeys? What?
And all of these
the Earth moves around the sun. No.
Yes. No. Exactly. So we can anticipate things that come up on this day or on that week may pass you by, but in some areas they're going to be revolutionary.
And somewhere around this like several month period, all of these things kind of bubble up, and you look back and you're like, oh wow, that happened. Yeah,
it's amazing. It's interesting time. It's I think it's a positive thing.
Yeah,
it's
and you can really see. I mean, just looking back at what we were saying earlier about 2010, you might not see it this year as it's happening because it can all be seeming like everything just is constantly happening. But you look back 14 years, and you're like, oh wow, all this stuff happened in that one little cluster of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think then in general, I think we're pretty optimistic about this.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't be optimistic about Jupiter and Uranus, what can you be?
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
And it's a handy, dinky little conjunction coming through.
Yeah.
Nicely early in the year.
Yeah.
Breaking our fan pattern, bringing potentials for astrology, particularly for growth in certain areas. And who knows what scientific discoveries are going to be maybe brought out that we perhaps wouldn't even hear about at the time, but eventually would come out that they came out at this time.
Yeah.
Which is always an interesting thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to our listeners, I thank you so much for listening. And if you found value in this episode, please do consider sharing it with somebody who may be interested.
Absolutely.
You can send your questions to us at starzology@gmail.com and visit our website at starzology.com. And we'd love to hear from you.
Yes.
Well, Arwynne, thank you so much for joining me once more.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer or someone who's learning astrology or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.